Hello everyone. Today we are talking to Priscilla Masters, the author of the Joanne Piercy series and the Martha Gunn series. And she seems to have a huge catalogue. So if you love discovering new writers or people that you've not come across before and going through a whole lot of their books, this is the lady for you. I'm currently reading one of her novels and thoroughly enjoying it as well. Now, before we start talking to Priscilla, let me just mention that down below in the YouTube channel, that is where you will find all the links to Priscilla's books, her website, and lots more beside. So welcome, Priscilla. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, would you like to tell me a little bit about your books? I know you've got the Joanne Piercy series and the Martha Gunn series.
There's a third series as well, which I'm not sure whether to continue with, and it's features a forensic psychiatrist who's in charge of a psychiatric hospital, which includes a locked ward. Her name is Claire Roger, and I think there's about 5 or 6 of those out at the moment, maybe not so many, maybe 4 or 5. I did one years and years ago, a plea of insanity, which sort of introduced her and then dropped her for a few years and picked her up. I also do medical standalones, which I must say I have really enjoyed.
Oh, right. That sounds fun. I have no idea. What is a medical standalone?
Well, it's one that I dreamt up myself. Basically, it features a doctor. Right. I did one about the vulnerability of a female GP called Night Visit, and I did one about the vulnerability of a male GP that was called The Watchful Eye, and then I did one about a surgeon who liked to tipple. I mean, don't worry, these things don't really happen, they're just fantasy fiction.
Yes, we can get away with so much in fiction, can't we?
Absolutely.
So which books did you start with? Was it the Joanne Piercy series you started?
The Joanne Piercy series I started writing in about 1990, 1991. I just knew that I really enjoyed reading police procedurals. Of course, that was at the time when Jane Tennyson, Linda LaPlante's creation came out. And I still thought that there were too few novels that featured a female detective rather than a male detective. So I played with the idea of having a female detective, and of course her male detective sergeant is, you know, not too happy at first. I mean, as the books go on, I'm on number 15 at the moment, as the books carry on, this relationship melts and alters in ways that one could never have thought of. I mean, just to make it, because I'm quite a romantic, just to make it a little bit more interesting, she's been having an extramarital affair with the forensic pathologist called Matthew. So there's a few nods and winks over the mortuary table.
Well, I think the one I'm reading at the moment, things have progressed still further. So it's really nice to actually see her private life developing as well.
Very much, yes. In fact, I was realising, because as I say, I'm currently sort of writing what I hope will be the penultimate draft of the latest Joanne Piercy novel, which is number 15. And I've realised that actually the bits that do a personal life are a little bit easier for me to write than the actual police procedural, because I always knew where it was going. In some of the early books, there was I wouldn't say an argument, but I stuck up for myself. There was a disagreement where Joanna is questioning a suspect in a murder case. I think it might be, and none shall sleep, actually. And the woman that she's questioning fairly vigorously, I mean, she doesn't mess around. She's got a 2-year-old child sitting on her lap, and the publisher hated that scene where Joanna's being pretty vicious. So I had a friend who's a chief superintendent, and in fact I found the letter, because I'm always clearing out, between books I always tidy the study and clean it and everything. And I found the letter because I refused to take that scene out. I thought it was important for subsequent titles, you know, Joanna's attitude towards children, which isn't very maternal, I have to say. My friend who's the chief superintendent wrote a letter in support of the scene. I think he made me take 2 swear words out, to be absolutely honest. But I sent that letter, or a copy of that letter, to the publishers, and they accepted the scene then, because that was something I wanted to develop.
Right. Now, you see, that is in None Shall Sleep, and I recognise that scene absolutely. And I loved that scene, actually. I really felt it did develop her character and really, or set the scene for us to come later with Matthew and what have you. So yeah. Well, as a reader, I liked it, so good on you.
I think it was the first time I actually said no. You know, normally I'm quite happy to go along with editing suggestions or queries, because, you know, most of the time they're really helpful. But that scene, I really stuck my neck out. That's number 4. Yeah. And that's a theme that I really wanted to develop. So I didn't know how many in the series I do. And as I was hearing Vic Heron saying the other day, it doesn't make any difference to me whether I'm published or not. I will write. You know, it's what I do. You know, it's a bit like breathing. And if I decide I'm not going to write, out comes the notebook, out comes the pad, and I actually get a bit of a headache thinking of things that I really want to write about. It's dreadful.
Right.
I think.
So you're obviously still continuing with Joanne Piercy. You're not about to retire her, or?
No, I mean, she's a what I call a steady seller. I realise that these days there's a lot more competition in that female police procedural. But in 1994, which is when I signed my first publishing contract with Macmillan, I thought I could do 5. But the trouble is, I always leave a story, although the murder is solved. That's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? Although everything of that is satisfactory, there are always unanswered questions, because lives are lives and they keep going. And unfortunately, you know, Joanna seems to keep going. So I'll probably carry on writing, and I'll probably have like 1 person reading about her or something.
You like her?
I like her. I thought she was a little bit like me, you know, slightly spiky. I think people say about me I tend to go for the jugular. And I thought, yeah, I don't mind being like her, until I read a review that said, Detective Inspector Joanne Piercy is a deeply unpleasant character. I thought, oh, she's nothing like me at all, you know. I mean, I don't think she's unpleasant, but I do realise that she's got a job to do.
Absolutely, she's a career woman, and I get the impression that she wouldn't be able to do her job if she was a really nice person just letting things slide. No.
Well, you know, you have to nail your colours to the mast. She's paid to do a job. I mean, of course, in Leek in Staffordshire, they probably have 1 murder and 1 suicide every 10 years. It's actually a peaceful town where I used to work. But you know, crime novels are crime novels, and people expect a major crime. I mean, somebody sort of borrowing a bus and driving it up to the moorlands and crashing it isn't really what readers want to read about.